Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishupad Paramahansa Brahmadacharya Asatara Satushi Shriman His Divine Grace Kalesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Raj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribol. Glorious to the assembled devotees, all glorious to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Agyanatavanandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chaksur Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Scha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Pradana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vasakans Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabandho Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishubhana Sudhadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Turbhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patiranam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranitananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 2, Daksha curses Lord Shiva, text number 30. Brahma cha brāhmaṇāṁ caiva yad yūyaṁ parinindatha setum vidhāraṇaṁ puṁsām ataḥ pāṣaṇḍam āśritāḥ Brahmacha brāhmaṇāṁ caiva yad yūyaṁ parinindatha setum vidhāraṇaṁ puṁsām ataḥ pāṣaṇḍam āśritāḥ. Brahma cha brāhmaṇāṁ caiva vidhāraṇaṁ puṁsām ataḥ pāṣaṇḍam āśritāḥ. Brahma cha brāhmaṇāṁ caiva yūyaṁ parinindatha setuṁ vidhāraṇaṁ puṁsām ataḥ pāṣaṇḍam āśritāḥ. Vidhāraṇaṁ puṁsām ataḥ pāṣaṇḍam āśritāḥ. Ladies, coming up, caiva yūyaṁ parinindatha setum vidhāraṇaṁ puṁsām ataḥ pāṣaṇḍam āśritāḥ. brāhmaṇāṁ caiva yūyaṁ parinindatha setum vidhāraṇaṁ puṁsām ataḥ pāṣaṇḍam āśritāḥ. Brahma, the Vedas, cha, and brāhmaṇān, the brāhmanas, cha, and eva, certainly, yat, because, yūyaṁ, you, parinindatha, blaspheme, setum, Vedic principles, vidhāraṇam, holding, puṁsām, of mankind, ataḥ, therefore, pāṣaṇḍam, atheism, āśritāḥ, have taken shelter. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada. Bhṛgu Muni continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmanas, who are followers of the Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism. Please repeat. Bhṛgu Muni continued. Since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmanas, who are followers of the Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism. Purport. Bhṛgu Muni, encouraging Nandīśvara, said that not only would they be degraded as atheists because of this curse, but they had already fallen to the standard of atheism because they had blasphemed the Vedas, which are the source of human civilization. Human civilization is based on the qualitative division of social orders, namely the intelligent class, the martial class, the productive class, and the laborer class. The Vedas provide the right direction for advancing in spiritual cultivation and economic development and regulating the principles of sense gratification, and so that ultimately one may be liberated from material contamination to his real state of spiritual identification. Aham Brahmasmi. As long as one is in the contamination of material existence, one changes bodies from the aquatics up to the position of Brahma. But the human form of life is the highest perfectional life in the material world. The Vedas give directions by which to elevate oneself in the next life. The Vedas are the mother of such instructions, and the brāhmaṇas are persons who are knowledge of the Vedas are the father. Thus, if one blasphemes the Vedas and the brāhmaṇas, naturally one goes down to the status of atheism. The exact word used in Sanskrit is naishtika, which refers to one who does not believe in the Vedas but manufactures some concocted system of religion. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu said that the followers of the Buddhist system of religion are naishtikas, in order to establish his doctrine of nonviolence. Lord Buddha flatly refused to believe in the Vedas, and thus later on Sankaracharya stopped the system of religion in India and forced it to go outside India. Here it is stated, Brahma cha brāhmaṇān. Brahma means the Vedas. Aham Brahmasmi means I am in full knowledge. The Vedic assertion is that one should think that he is Brahman, for actually he is Brahman. A Brahma, or the sixth spiritual science, is condemned, and the masters of the spiritual science, the Brahmanas, are condemned. Then where does human civilization stand? Bhṛgu Muni said, it is not due to my cursing that you should become atheists. You are already situated in the principle of atheism, therefore you are condemned. So the text again. Bhṛgu Muni continued, since you blaspheme the Vedas and the Brahmanas, or followers of these Vedic principles, it is understood that you have already taken shelter of the doctrine of atheism. Namo Vishnu Vidāya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Sarasvatunde Ve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskadyade Siddharane. Often in Srila Prabhupada's purports, and I imagine following the Acharyas, Prabhupada doesn't take sides on the issue. In other words, the principle of what Bhṛgu Muni is speaking is true. Whether it's actually in the proper context, that's a different thing. We don't think that Lord Shiva or all of his followers are atheists. After all, Lord Shiva is speaking to Parvati when Parvati asked Lord Shiva, what's the best type of worship? His reply was Aradhanam nam sarveshu Vishnu Radhanam param Tasmat Paratram Devi Tidiyanam Samachara. That the best worship is to worship Vishnu Radhanam param. But even better than that is to worship the devotees of Vishnu. Now, the leader of the Brahmins is, in this particular case, is Daksha. Now, according to the Vedas, Vaishnava Yata Shambhu. Now, this Brahmin, Daksha, the leader, he's condemning Lord Shiva, who's one of the guna avatars, not exactly following the Vedic scripture. So it is not that because one takes the position of a Brahmin that one necessarily has actually understood the Vedic literature, is even supporting it. But the Vedic literature is absolute. In other words, Nigama Kalpatra Galitam Palam Sukhamukam Dravya Amritam Pibata Rasanam Alayam Mahura Mahura Rasika Rasikaha. That the Vedic literature is like a desire tree, and it's meant to take people in any stage of life, fulfill their desires, develop faith in the Vedas, and go on to next stage of progression. So that next stage of progression goes from ignorance to passion to goodness. And the Vedas don't exclude people in the mode of ignorance from making progress towards liberation. But we find, for instance, in India, there was a class of people, so-called Brahmins, They didn't want anyone else to become a Brahmin. They thought Brahmanism is our monopoly, or Vaishnavism is Nityananda Vamsa, Vaishnavism is our monopoly. In other words, they had some knowledge, but it was also covered with enviousness, that others should not come to our position because we're making a good business, either being a Brahmin or being a so-called Vaishnava in a Sampradaya, and we have a monopoly, and we don't want anyone else to interfere in it. Therefore, this is called mixed devotional service. Mixed up with karma, mixed up with speculation, and still one is considering oneself to be a Brahmin, not by qualification, but by somehow or another designation. As a matter of fact, according to Bhṛgu Muni, that if one does not accept the Vedas, then one becomes an atheist. So if one doesn't accept the whole Vedas, not just the part we like, then one falls into a degraded condition. So the Vedas generally aim at three different levels. Well, the Vedas means knowledge, absolute knowledge. And therefore, Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan are not really open to speculation. They're a reality. And similarly, as Krishna says, Chatura Vanya Mayashishtam Guna Karma Vibhagashaha. The fact that there are modes of material nature, Sattvam, Rajas, Tamayiti, I mean, any person has experience. Sometimes they're sleepy, sometimes they're active, and sometimes they're eliminating. Things make sense to them. For instance, if we understand that the body is changing, but we're not changing, that's knowledge in the mode of goodness. But if we think that there's so many different bodies that are meant here, that's a product of our consciousness being covered with the mode of passion. And when we think that we're the proprietors of the material nature, and that whatever I have is mine, that's ignorance. In other words, knowledge is in the mode of goodness, passion is the mode, unclarity of reality, misconceptions about reality is the mode of passion, and pure lack of knowledge of reality is in the mode of ignorance. Now, undoubtedly, everyone has followers. It is not that Bhṛgu Muni was a Brahmin and that all the Brahmins were equally qualified as Bhṛgu Muni. Of course, Bhṛgu Muni doesn't seem to be so qualified here either. Similarly, Lord Shiva is super qualified, although sometimes it appears in the scriptures that he makes some mistakes. But that's not very common. For instance, when he was going to curse Bhṛgu Muni, I guess Bhṛgu Muni happens to be Lord Shiva's brother, so I guess there's some kind of fraternal rivalry or something, because as we know, in the Krishna book, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhṛgu Muni didn't know who the Supreme was. He was part of the sages who didn't actually know who the Supreme was, and therefore he was elected to go and test Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and Lord Vishnu, the Guna avatars, to see who the Supreme, who's the greatest of them. So he went to Lord Brahma, and he disrespected him. When Lord Brahma came to greet him, "Oh, my son," Bhṛgu Muni just ignored him. So Lord Brahma became very disturbed, and he was going to curse Bhṛgu Muni, but he realized this is not a good idea. So his great intelligence surpassed his passion, just like water puts out fire, and he didn't do anything. And Bhṛgu Muni thought, this is probably a good time to leave. So he left, he went to Kailas, and there Lord Shiva came to embrace him. "Oh, my brother," and he said, "Go, don't touch me, you filthy nose, good for nothing. You're covered with ashes, you have snakes, it's like you live in crematoriums. Don't get near me, I'm a pure Brahmin." So his brother went from, this is an example of Lord Shiva sometimes not acting adequately, he went from affection to going to kill Bhṛgu Muni with his trident. But luckily, his wife, Parvati, she paid obeisances, dandavats before Lord Shiva, begged that he doesn't kill his brother. It wouldn't look good in Srimad Bhagavatam. So he refrains from doing it. And again, Lord Bhṛgu Muni left and went to Sweta Dweep, barged into the room where Lord Vishnu was resting and having massaged by his wife, the goddess of fortune, went up to Bhṛgu Muni, kicked him in, went up to Lord Vishnu, kicked him in the chest. And Lord Vishnu came off his couch and he put Bhṛgu Muni on the couch and he started to massage his feet and say, "My dear Bhṛgu Muni, please forgive me that I didn't know you'd come. I should have greeted you, so I made an offense. Now, somehow or another, your soft lotus-like foot has touched my hard thunderbolt-like chest, so I hope I didn't hurt you. It didn't get hurt. Let me massage it in case there's any pain. So please stay here, because, oh great Brahman, and stay here and purify my Vaikuntha planet. Because now that you've purified my chest with the kick of your lotus foot, I'm sure the goddess of fortune will be agreeable to stay on my chest forever, since you purified it." So Bhṛgu Muni understood his position, and also the goddess of fortune did not appreciate Bhṛgu Muni's attempt to see whether her husband was the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So for that reason it says that the goddess of fortune is not very favorable for Brahmins. So before you take second initiation, think twice. If you have any material aspirations, better to stay just first initiation. In any case, Bhagavatam, everyone in Bhagavatam presents themselves as an authority. We know it as Bhṛgu Muni's cursing Lord Shiva's followers as he, quoting the Vedas. It says that even the devil quotes scriptures sometimes. Or as one Christian priest once said, that your philosophy is so perfect, referring to the Hare Krishna philosophy. He said that only the devil could have made it. So similarly, Bhṛgu Muni is quoting the Vedas, but not exactly accurate. Although it is true, for instance, that one takes, there, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, we take different species of life according to the consciousness we develop. But that's inevitable. But there is a progression from the lower species of life to the human, for instance, before one becomes a human being, in the mode of ignorance, one may be taking birth as a monkey is in the mode of ignorance, so one takes, from the monkey life, one takes birth in the mode of ignorance. From the lion, I guess, one takes birth in the mode of passion, and from the cow, one takes birth in the mode of goodness. So there is transmigration, but there is upward movement also. Therefore, not everyone is a Brahmin. Not everyone has the same. Everyone takes bath 3 times a day, etc., etc. One may be in the mode of ignorance, but still, by following the Vedas, or following someone who's following the Vedas, which is even more important, such as Lord Shiva, one makes advancement. So Lord Shiva is known as the most merciful of all the guna avatars, because he takes people from the lowest stage and he elevates them to a higher stage. Therefore, to condemn Lord Shiva and to condemn his followers, that's actually atheism, because one is just denying the Vedas. The Vedas say, Trividha narakasya dam, dvaram nashitam atmanaha, kama krodha tata lobhas tasmad etam trayam trajet. There are three gates leading to hell: lust, anger, and greed. Every sane person should become free from them because they lead to the degradation of the self. Etera vimukta kontiya tamo dvaras rivir nara acharat dimana shayastato yati param gatim. That anyone who gives up these three gates performs activities which are conducive to self-realization, and thus he attains the supreme destination. Yakshastra vidimutsrija vartate kamakarata sasasidim avatnoti nasukam na param gatim. Anyone who gives up Shastra and acts whimsically obtains neither peace nor happiness nor the supreme destination. Therefore, tasmat shastram pramanam te karya karya vyastito yatva shastra vidanokta karma karta miharasi. Therefore, one should know what is duty and what is not duty by the Shastra, and knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so he can gradually become purified. So Lord Shiva has his part of the Vedas. Even it says in the Puranas, which we accept as good as the Vedas, that there are 6 Puranas in the mode of ignorance, 6 Puranas in the mode of passion, and 6 Puranas in the mode of goodness. So it's not that all the Puranas are in the mode of goodness and they're all meant for the Brahmins. No, there are Puranas meant for different classes of people, including persons in the mode of ignorance, to gradually elevate them. But if one cuts out the possibility of anyone getting elevated except for the Brahmins, then he's missed the whole Vedic literature. Therefore Krishna says, Mamhi parthivya bhashitya yepi supapiyonaya striyo vaishyas tasudras tepiyanti param gatim. Therefore anyone, whether it be Sudras or women or women lower class, Vaishyas, they can, if they follow, take shelter of Krishna and his instructions, they can attain this highest destination. Sure, the Brahmins, Krishna says, that Brahmins, Kshatriya, Vishya, how much greater than the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, the saintly kings, who in this miserable material world engage in loving service to me. So it's a fact that the Brahmins are gone through different stages of elevation towards a higher consciousness, and now they're supposed to know that Brahman, they're supposed to see everyone as a spiritual being with the potential of elevating themselves from the modes of ignorance and passion. They're supposed to have gone through that themselves by the mercy of persons in a higher state of consciousness. But if they deny that, they become a Brahmin and they think that only we are Brahmins, only we can become elevated, only we have a monopoly on self-realization, and all these others are destined to remain Shudras throughout their whole life, or even life after life, until they're fortunate enough to take birth again as a Brahmin. They're the same mentality as Suruchi, when Dhruva Maharaj was trying to sit on the lap of King Uttamapada, and Suruchi told Dhruva Maharaj, get off your father's lap because you haven't taken birth from my womb, and therefore you're not eligible to sit on the lap of your father. So, but if you want to sit on the lap of the father, you should pray to Lord Vishnu that you could die immediately and take birth from my womb. Then you'll become qualified. So this type of envious attitude doesn't lead to very auspicious results. As we'll find out that Bhṛgu Muni and his Brahmins, although they're talking big words about and cursing people, it doesn't end up very well for them. So if he was actually talking to the Vedas about all auspiciousness, it probably would have ended up a lot better than it did for the Brahmins at this fire sacrifice. So just because we have a sacred thread, we can quote the Vedas like Arjuna did, it doesn't mean that we've gotten the whole picture. Probably they should have read the Bhagavad Gita before they start to curse everyone. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions or comments? Okay, we'll stop there. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanande.